I'm curious how fast this technology is being adopted now, because this is, like you said, it's an extremely competitive industry. So even if I have, for example, like if I was ESPN or whatever, and I have the rights to a show, I still know that my customers want the content faster, more real time, like you suggested. How widespread is the adoption cycle right now in this?
We're just starting to really commercialize this technology in these spaces, and let's segregate the bookmaking space, frankly, from the regular media delivery of sports content. So
Right.
the rationale for that is very different. To the point you made earlier about when you're chatting with your friends and you're all watching the same content from in different places, and even you could even be watching it in the same home and
That's
seeing
true.
it in different times or different latencies. The truth is that spoiler effect is very significant. It does ruin the experience for individuals. I'll give you an example. When you hear some of my background, I used to be the general counsel of the New York Islanders Hockey Club, and I'm still a very big hockey fan, very big Islanders fan. My fourth child, my daughter, is a senior at UCLA. She's the biggest Islander fan in my household. He and I will watch games at the same time and text one another back and forth as to what's going on. And I would be watching on cable, and she's watching a streaming provider. She's always roughly 40 or 45 seconds behind me.
Yeah.
And I have to temper my enthusiasm over what's taking place so that I don't ruin the experience for her. And even though I'm relatively sophisticated when it comes to the relative latencies, I still mess it up every so often, where I think she will have seen it by now. And I text her, great, like exclamation, exclamation. And she's like, what happened?
Matt Barzal is sick. And she's like,
Exactly.
what?
Well, a lot of times that's one of the things I do. I do type, which is Barzell exclamation point. She goes, did he score? And, and it's unfortunate because it ruins the experience for her. Just like every one of us as sports fans, the beauty of live sports is not knowing what's going to happen.
That's right.
And once you do know, the watching of it becomes less important and less enjoyable. I think there are very few games that we can go back and watch and ever get the same level of enjoyment that you got the first time you watched it live. It just doesn't happen. That's the beauty of live sports. And so we believe that over time, that live sports will move to real-time sports, and that everyone will be seeing this in real time. It's a process. The big media companies, right, have a whole host of reasons for not yet activating real time. Some of that is the infrastructure that they've expended on broadcast. Replacing that infrastructure, no different than going from SD to HD, is a big lift. But just like going from SD to HD, once some of the bigger players start to do it and the folks watching that content see it, it's going to become table stakes for everyone. We believe it's inevitable that we ultimately move to a total real time for live sports, as well as for other content as well, but live sports in particular. So we're very active in the gambling space. We started with horse racing and greyhound racing. We deliver to hundreds of thousands across the globe for those sports. We just signed our first U.S. sports rights holder who is going to deliver to a bookmaker a major sport in real time. So we hope to have that live sometime over the summer. We're in discussions with folks in Europe as well to do the same thing right now. And we see huge opportunities down the road. But I always say in technology generally, and in our space in particular, no one wants to be first, but everyone wants to be first to be second. So there's a lot of risk always in trying new technologies and making a big statement. But once that's adopted and once folks are on board, everyone rushes to the gate at that point.
Yeah, from there, I can totally see it. Obviously, there's a lot of stake at hand. If it's an easy install, right? It's a software layer, like you said, and it becomes clearly performing. It makes it easier to say yes, certainly, especially if people experience it. And then to your point about content, live content, I had a hypothesis back in like 2008 that because I saw like females at my work kind of doing what guys did around sports as they did with The Bachelor. And sure enough, like there's like fantasy leagues for Bachelor and other real-time shows now. Like, so interactive content's not going away. More and more programmers want it too because it's sticky. Like they want you to watch things. They
It's
just
all
want
about engagement.
yeah.
And you're right. I mean, The Bachelor could be an example. American Idol could be an example.
Yeah,
The
American Idol is
ability
another one.
not just to have sort of fantasy games around that in real time, but the other is to be able to interact with who's in the content. So, if you could be voting on American Idol as things are taking place, but you could be actually asking questions, you could be engaged in the content and have an interaction between the host and viewers who are watching this online in real time. Like
Yeah.
the ability to do that if there's a latent product and even if you're 10 seconds behind, the disconnect is so disruptive that it ruins the experience. So a real-time video delivery solution is a basic enabler of interactivity and engagement.
Yeah, I think what's the most popular show right now, or one of, like, Masked Singer. It's the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Things
Absolutely.
These things are going to be the creators of this content are never going to stop looking for ways to pull customers in, whatever hooks they can get. That's going to always be true. I'm curious for yourself, how did you get into this business? You mentioned before you had a background in sports, but not quite the technology side. Give us an idea of when you first heard about Phenix. How did you get involved? Because this is, like you said, it's groundbreaking technology. Few people want to be first because there's so much money on the line. But like, if it does work, I can see wide scale adoption very quickly. How did you get hooked to say, like, hey, I want to come work and help grow this?
So I had a long and winding road to get to Phenix. I started off a long time ago as a trial lawyer in New York and wound up going in-house for one of my clients, which was a large software company called Computer Associates. I managed their
That's a big company, yeah.
I managed their litigation portfolio worldwide for a number of years when the founder of CA, Charles Wong, bought the New York Islanders hockey club and asked me and another fellow to go run the team on the business side day to day. I always tell everybody I was a sports fan long before I was a lawyer, so it took me a millisecond to say yes. I became the general counsel of the Islanders, sat on the NHL board of governors for the club, and then started doing a bunch of other things with Charles around investments he was making in technology and real estate, morphed into more of a business person than a lawyer. One of those investments that he made was in a company founded by his wife called New Lion. New Lion built the first platform for the delivery of live sports over the internet. Built NHL Game Center Live, NBA League Pass, NFL Game Pass, UFC.tv, a whole host of others. I was their pro bono lawyer when they started, and then in 2008, they had an opportunity to become a public company. I did that deal and then was told New Line was now my day job and everything else was part-time, including the Islanders. I wound up the general counsel of New Lion, sat on the public company board, ultimately became CEO. And then we sold that in 2018 to Endeavor, the company run by Ari Emanuel.
Endeavor owns a ton of portfolio of entertainment companies. Yeah, they own
Absolutely.
UFC being one of them.
And that's how the relationship between New Line and Endeavor began through their acquisition of UFC. We sold and I retired. I sat on the sidelines for about a year doing some consulting and relaxing a little bit when I got a phone call asking if I had any interest in running another streaming company. And I tell everyone it's a good thing it wasn't one of these video calls. It was a regular, because when I asked the question, what's the hook? There's so many streaming companies out there.
Yeah.
The answer I got was Phenix can deliver in sub-half second latency, 2 broadcast scale audiences completely synchronized. And my eyes literally rolled to the back of my head. At New Line, we were delivering in 30 to 35 seconds of latency. Drift was a huge problem, as it was for our biggest competitor, BAMTech, Major League Baseball Advanced Media. They were delivering in 45 seconds of latency, and we were the 2 biggest and best. So the idea that someone could deliver to all 3 prongs or legs of this stool, I thought was somewhat fanciful. But I also realized that if someone could do it, it had incredible commercial applications. So I was smart enough, and I think this is the one area where I was smart enough to allow the conversation to continue.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, they convinced me and I convinced them that we'd be a good fit. And here we are.
Hey, thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel for more great IT thought leadership. And thanks to our partners at Salesforce Platform for making this show possible. Go to salesforce.com/newsletter to discover timely insights and useful tips tailored to your role.